Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and this video we're breaking down Tan. The Stand, yeah, it's a Stand. Now the fourth episode is now out, and there's a lot to unpack from it, including a little Stephen King cameo. I felt like this episode was a bit all over the place because of the time jumps, but I'm still enjoying the show, though I know it's getting a lot of backlash. Now the episode opens with Frannie writing a journal, which sort of becomes an aesthetic of this entry. Throughout, she discusses how 75,000 years ago that humanity was on the verge of extinction and how these people struggled on, which led to the species thriving once more. It's a hopeful message and one that sort of drives the people in this entry. At this point, we pretty much know all of the main characters in the show, and the introduction sees them assembling for a council meeting. We see Larry pouring his pills down the drain, which symbolises that he's accepted his role in authority. The other characters also get dressed, including Harold, who, though not part of the team, picks out a suit and dresses in his Sunday best. There's a great shot in the show when he's putting it all together in the mirror, like several of the other characters, but where Harold differs is that he has a photograph in his. This has Tom Cruise pointing and laughing at him, which subtly hints to us that the men in society that are seen as something special mock and dislike him. Throughout the episode, his hate of Stu grows ever more apparent, and I love the way that it's set up here by old Tommy Boy basically carrying this out to his reflection. In the background, we can also hear the song Don't Take Your Guns to Town by Johnny Cash. The song tells the story of a mother who warns her son about taking his guns to town and how it could cause a situation. He ignores this advice, does it anyway, and goes to a saloon where he's shot and killed in a gunfight. So lots of things going on in this, such as how putting up an affront often leads to others trying to match it, and this creates escalation. It can be applied to several things in the entry, such as Randall Flagg sending a message, which caused the council to send people out to spy on him. However, it can also be applied to them going out, as it's obvious Flagg will become aware of their actions, and will of course do something back. Mother Abigail warns against carrying out this action, and she could be very much seen as a stand-in for the mother in this song. And that's why I'm the bloody best breakdown guy on the net, folks. Thumbs up buttons right there. Now at the meeting, the citizens have a lot of questions about the crucified man, and we see how Stu falls apart under pressure. However, Larry, who's used to public speaking, gets up and rallies everyone together around the positive things that they've managed to achieve. He gets several people to stand up and take a bow, including Nadine Cross. Now the fact that she's a teacher means she has a lot of influence over the youth, and I think Flagg might have even pushed her into this role throughout her life, so she could be a force that manipulated young minds. In the book, the planchette scene didn't happen until she was already at college pursuing a teaching degree, but the change could have been put in place last episode to hint that Flagg has a control over all the actions throughout her life. They also discuss turning the power back on, which becomes pivotal in this entry. Intercut with this meeting is the council debating whether they should discuss Flagg in Vegas. However, they downplay it and pretend it's not bad, and it sounds like some country's pandemic response, but we'll not go into that. Now, you may also notice that Fran is dressed very similar and showing much in the same way that she was in Glenn's painting from last week, cementing that his dream did indeed come true. Another important addition comes when the body crew get changed to the City Watch. Harold also gets people to vote on the council becoming the permanent members, and this of course plays into Flagg's overall plan to have them in place so that he can take them out all in one fell swoop. Upon returning home, he's greeted by the kind of woman that you wouldn't want to find on your doorstep late at night, and Nadine seduces him into joining her and Flagg's ranks. Flagg of course has been sowing the seeds of doubt in Harold's mind, and Cross turns on the charm in order to win him around. He dodges a bullet and finds a way of not going to bed with her before she can poop in it, but it's clear that he's now very much on her and Flagg's side. Now as she states, she is a virgin and will remain that way as a quote-unquote unbroken vessel for when she meets Flagg. By the way, yeah, that's not me using the phrase unbroken vessel because I'm some mentalist. It's what she refers to as her virginity in the book. Anyway, we cut to 2 months earlier and you see Harold having another experience with a woman, namely Fran. He professes his love to her and she rejects his advances, which is the complete opposite to the Nadine situation in which she was throwing herself at him. In the first episode, we saw that he had written a story about two people that had been pushed together at the end of the world, and it's crystal clear that he believes that his fantasy has come true. He's obviously scorned by the rejection, and we also catch up with Glenn and Stu, who are following the signs he left behind. They don't come a moment too soon either, as on the road, Fran and Harold are ambushed by a man named Garvey. Played by Angus Sampson, you might recognise him from both The Walking Dead, Mad Max and Insidious. Now this confrontation differs slightly from the book, as here he's working by himself. In the source material, things are a lot darker, as he's part of a group that kidnap and torture women. Now if you watched our video last week, you might remember that we talked about how Stu joined Fran and Harold the same time that he met him, so he doesn't show up like some knight in shining armour when it comes to this source material. So yeah, lots of changes, and the book is actually far worse than what we see on screen, even though this meeting is pretty chilling. I was actually expecting Harold to pull a gun out from an ankle holster, as Stu said last week that he noticed the character had one, but alas, this is missing from the fight scene. Both versions see Garvey being taken out, and we're also introduced to Dana Jurgens, who has a really big scene down the line when it comes to Las Vegas. After all they've been through, on the night Stu offers them an alliance after divulging that they all have the same dreams. Harold once more seems to want to pee on his ideas, but Glenn steps forward and does what he's best at, which is of course talking. He says that in the past people didn't believe in the Bible because there was no proof. However, they've started to see things that have some legitimacy to them through Abigail, and it's worth joining together. Frannie gets up in the middle of the night, and with Stu they discuss Flag, as well as Glenn's painting which told them that Fran was pregnant. We learn that Harold doesn't even know, and along with not discussing the shared dreams, it's clear they don't really have the relationship that Harold thought they did. We then cut to the present, and Stu talking to the City Watch. Unlike the council meeting, he commands the crowd, dishes out instructions, and is loved by pretty much everyone other than Harold. This clearly pushes Harold to hate him even more, as he's everything that he isn't. He's naturally friendly, whereas Harold isn't. He's liked by people, whereas Harold isn't. And he has a relationship with Fran, whereas Harold doesn't. Inside the pocket of his jacket he finds a leaflet given to the ski patrol, which details that the group have access to explosive charges, and this of course sets up what's to come. Now I actually really appreciated this, as in the book it's not really detailed how Nadine or Harold get the dynamite. However, they do a good job of filling in how they come to possess them, which leaves an age-old plot hole finally filled in. We also see the friendship of Terry and Harold in more depth, as they hope and pray that the Rock is still alive. "My lord, please still be alive, Rock." Now whilst Harold starts to piece together his plan, the committee start to put together a sort of Black Ops team. Dana does the old, you know the one, list all the bad things about the mission and how stupid it is before saying, "You son of a bitch, I'm in." Judge Farris is also recruited, and they've done a gender swap on the character, which will have some ramifications for the way things play out down the line. There's also an interesting take with Tom Cullen, as in the source material he was actually hypnotized so that his cover story wouldn't slip. Here it's a lot more simple, and he just says M-O-O-N, and that spells "you son of a bitch, I'm in." From here we jump back to his journey with Nick on the road and sort of get more of their backstory. The pair are set upon by Julie Laurie in a shopping centre, and similar to the Nadine scene, she tries to seduce Nick. He rejects her advances, and I think this has been put in place to show just how much of an opposite that he is to Harold. Nick couldn't be controlled by Flag or a woman, and thus he's more fitting to be on Mother Abigail's side. The scene is changed from the book, as in that the pair have sex, whereas here a lot more of their more in-depth moments are skipped over. In the work, she even slashes the pair's motorbike tyres and tries to snipe them from afar. Similar to what we see here, Julie has a really nasty side to her in the source material, and she's also mentally unstable. This meeting is very important, and if you've seen the mini-series or read the book, then you'll know she's a key player in the events to come. Now unwittingly, she leads them to an advert for Hemmingford Home, which just so happens to have a picture of Stephen King on it, in what I'm guessing is going to be his only cameo in the season. The pair head towards it, and it's here that they meet Mother Abigail for the first time. Now you may notice that there's a Chinese checkerboard in one of the establishing shots. Typically, there are multicoloured pieces that accompany this, but I think the black and white here has been used to denote the battle between Flag and Abigail. All those around her have died, and she talks to a dead woman named Gloria, showing that her sanity has slipped slightly. In the present, Abigail makes it clear that they must wait for God's instructions before taking action against Flag, but Nick has clearly disobeyed this. He says his goodbyes to Tom, and it's a really touching moment. I think their friendship is actually one of the strongest parts of this season, and it was a really emotional goodbye that, it makes me sad seeing him right off. I like the guy. Now this is the good guy's plan, and we then cut to Nadine and Harold enacting theirs. They discover the explosives, whilst the town also prepared to turn the power back on. This actually goes well, and it juxtaposes the source material, which saw the grid being overloaded due to a lot of things still being switched on. However, it goes off without a hitch, and also allows Larry to jam away on his guitar to the crowd. Now across the town we see Teddy stumble upon Nadine and Harold. He thinks he's in there at first, but as I said earlier, she's not the type of person you want to bump into during the night. I'll let you decide whether I'm talking about Nadine or Amber there. And she shoots and kills him. Now the character did die in the book, but weirdly it actually happened after this event. You may remember that earlier in the season, Harold saved his life by holding him in his arms, and his death goes in a similar sort of way, with the character clutching him as he passes away. That ends the episode, and a big question left in the air is, what are they going to do to cover up this murder? As I mentioned, Teddy dies at a different point in the book, so that they don't really have to scramble around to hide his body, and it is going to be interesting to see what they do to hide the crime. Let me know your thoughts below, and of course on the episode as a whole. Yeah, did you like it? Or did you not? Now as a thank you for interacting with this video, you'll be entered into a prize draw where we're giving away 3 copies of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings 4K box set to our subscribers. All you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the episode. The winners of last month's competition are on screen right now, so if that's you, then message me on Twitter at Heavy Spoilers. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of the series so far, as we go over the things you missed, give our theories, and also just talk about the differences from the book. If not, then you know what, I don't hate you. I hope you have a good week, and thanks for watching the video. I've been Paul, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.